Good afternoon, everyone. This is Olivia Marquez, Research Coordinator for Health Evidence, and I'm a coordinator for the Spotlight webinar series brought to you by the National Collaborating Center for Methods and Tools. So thank you to those who have joined us this afternoon for our Spotlight webinar series, and today we will be featuring the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal. So we'll quickly review some housekeeping items before we get started today. So please use the Q&A section at the bottom right-hand side of your screen in WebEx to post any questions or comments you may have during the webinar. We'll have a designated open Q&A section at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to post your questions or comments during the webinar and we can address those as they come along. So please use the chat section to share any comments that you might have. And please post your comments to all participants, as some other participants who join us today may have the same questions as yourselves. For your connection today, we recommend using a wired internet connection versus wireless. And if you have any connection issues today, you can use the WebEx 24/7 helpline. So that's posted there on the slide, and we'll also have that posted in the chat section. After today, the PowerPoint presentation will be made available in English and French, and the English audio recording will also be made available via NCCMT's YouTube account. So these resources can be accessed using the links posted in the chat section. So keep an eye out. We'll have those posted ideally within the week from this presentation. So we'll have our first of a few polling questions today. We'll just get a sense of the audience that's joining us. We're wondering how many people are watching today's session with you. So if you're yourself, if you're 1 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 10, or with a larger group. So please, you can use the poll question panel on the side of WebEx, and just remember to hit submit for your responses. So we see that most of the people joining us today are yourselves, and we have a few in some smaller groups, so that's great. Thanks to those who are completing the poll question. I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the NCCMT Spotlight on Methods and Tools webinar series. This is our 27th episode of the Spotlight series, and we'll be featuring the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal. So we'll be posting links to the registry page for this tool, and we'll also have links to the website in the chat section as we move along through the presentation. So please feel free to open up the website and follow along as the presenters review the portal today. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the National Collaborating Center for Methods and Tools, we're one of 6 national collaborating centers across Canada, funded by the Public Health Agency of Canada. We here at NCCMT are located at McMaster University in Hamilton. And while the other 4 NCCs focus on the use of research evidence to specific public health content areas, we here focus on improving the access to and use of methods and tools for health professionals in practice within Canada. So we're not content specific, but we offer methods and tools that can be applied across different areas of public health. NCCMT has many products and services available through our website. So these are just a few of the products and services that we offer. Many of you may be familiar with some of these. And today we'll be highlighting a tool that is located in our registry of methods and tools. And note that NCCMT also offers a variety of online learning opportunities through online modules. We offer links to Public Health Plus, and a variety of other multimedia tools for you to use. Our second polling question today, we're wondering how many of you are familiar with the method or tool that we're discussing today? So either you're not familiar or you've heard of it, or in fact, you've actually used it. So again, just as you're answering your questions, just make sure to hit submit at the bottom right-hand side. So we see that quite a few of you are not familiar, which is great. Hopefully we'll give you a bit more information about that today. And a few of you have heard of it or maybe just not quite used it yet, so that's great. So I'd like to formally introduce our presenters today. It's my pleasure today to introduce Susanna Watson, who is the project coordinator for health evidence at McMaster University. And we also have Stephanie Venator-Paul, who's a Citizen Advisory Council member for the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal. So thank you to both of our presenters today, and we'll pass it along to Susanna and Stephanie.
Thank you, Olivia, and thanks to all of you who have joined us today who are interested in NCCMT and also in the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal specifically. This might be a little bit different if you've attended some of the other Spotlight webinars, where this tool that we're talking about today is an open access website. So it's a website available online that anyone can access for free. And even the majority of the resources are without a login. So it's a website that's still, we think, a very valuable tool for knowledge translation around public health as well as broader applications on aging research. So first, I'd just like to acknowledge that the portal is funded through McMaster University by the Labarge Optimal Aging Initiative, and we have no conflicts of interest at this time. So the Optimal Aging Portal is a website, as I mentioned, that brings together all the latest research evidence about aging optimally. And the way that we define that is staying healthy and active and engaged as we grow older. So as we've seen, some of you already know about the portal, others have never heard about it before, so that's good. That's the point of this Spotlight webinar today, so hopefully you learn a little bit more. So a portal is a place for bringing together much different information and providing one place where you can access a variety of different types of content. In this case, we're bringing together 3 best-in-class databases. So these feed the portal, constantly adding to and updating the content with the latest research abstracts on aging issues. So currently we have over 31,000 abstracts available through the portal on a wide variety of health issues that are relevant to optimal aging. And here's a depiction on this slide of the databases which actually feed the portal with these abstracts. So we have at the bottom left health systems evidence. So this provides research abstracts about strengthening or reforming our health systems and policies. Health evidence, which some of you might be familiar working in public health. This is quality appraised systematic reviews about public health interventions. And we also have access to McMaster Plus, which provides the best evidence to support clinical decisions. And the portal design and functionality is managed by MacHealth, who are specialists in e-learning innovation. So the portal houses all of these abstracts from these databases, abstracts from these databases, rather, that are specific to aging. So this is very valuable, having them all in one place. So it makes it easier for practitioners and professionals like yourselves to access the latest research abstracts. And often we have free click-throughs to the full text as well, so that's valuable as well. But another thing that we do is translating this into the highest quality and most relevant findings in an easy-to-understand and consumer-friendly way. So that's a lot of what I'll be reviewing in the webinar today. But first of all, who is this portal for, and why did we create it in the first place? So it might be for someone like Linda, for people who consider themselves healthy, active, and engaged already, but they want to stay this way as they age. So Linda has questions like, which exercises are best for keeping her body and her mind fit and flexible? She shops at her local health food store sometimes, but what claims about supplements and vitamins can she actually believe? And she likes eating sweets, but maybe too much, so what are some habits that she should avoid or keep in check as she grows older? The portal is also for people like Barbara, people who need advice about managing some existing health conditions, either for themselves or people that they care for. So Barbara cares for her husband who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a year ago, and she would like to know how can she keep her husband safe and functioning well living at home for as long as possible. Are there any ways to actually slow the progress of Alzheimer's disease? And what risks and recommendations are there for caregivers of people with dementia? The portal is also for healthcare professionals who work with older adults who have an interest in promoting optimal aging. So this might be clinicians or nurses, public health professionals, policymakers, researchers, educators. So as an example, we have Janine. She's an occupational therapist who supports older adults living at home. And she wants to know how can she best prevent falls among the patients that she works with? What are some advantages and disadvantages of getting home care versus moving into nursing care for frail older adults? And how do you know when it's time to make that move? Are there any activities or support services that help with isolation and functional decline for older adults living at home? And like Janine, Dr. Marcus has similar questions about how to keep his patients healthy, but little time to check the latest news, articles, and reviews. Some of you might relate to this. So ideally, this info could be sent to a mobile device where he could keep up on the best evidence while on the job. So those are some examples of who we have created the portal for and who we had in mind and continue to keep in mind as we create content for the portal. So yes, in one way, the purpose is to house the latest research abstracts in this place, but we also acknowledge that many of these can be challenging to understand and figure out the take-home messages. What does this mean for me as a healthcare practitioner and also as a member of the public? So to this end, we translate the highest quality and most relevant findings that we filter from these latest abstracts. We translate these into easy to understand and consumer-friendly content. So among these, we write evidence summaries, which are like the scientific abstracts, but written in more lay language. And we also create blog posts, which are commentaries on specific topics with take-home messages that people can put into practice. And I'll just describe these in a bit more detail. So the evidence summaries are like a summary of the research, but in more accessible language. So first of all, we create a declarative title. So we put the summary message right in the title. So it's like a spoiler alert. So you can see what the actual message is from this research instead of reading through the whole thing. And this is helpful when you want to just search a topic on the portal and you get a bunch of results. You can just read the titles to even get the gist, and then click on the titles to read more details if you're interested. We also have a hover over function of some terms in which people might not be as familiar with. So when you hover over with your cursor, then you can get the definition. So here's an example on this slide of cognitive impairment where it describes that in a bit more easy to understand language. You can also click on the article title to link directly to the scientific abstract if you're interested, and where available, link from there to the full text of the article. So we currently have over 300 evidence summaries available on the portal, and we're adding more all the time. And we select these based on the most recent articles as they come out, and those with what we call actionable messages, so where there's actually something that people can act on in the results and conclusions. Those are the ones that we choose to highlight it with an evidence summary. As I mentioned, we also write blog posts, so we're translating then evidence summaries and combining maybe several different evidence summaries into an easy-to-understand take-home message, these keeping in mind the older adults as our readers and people who care for them. So instead of just reading about one latest topic, we want to know, okay, but what else do we know about this issue, and what does that mean for us and how we do our work, or how I might live today and going forward. We select these topics based on the latest research that's available, that is, as we call it, actionable, but also on topics suggested by our advisory councils. We have an expert as well as a citizen advisory council. We also look at the most searched topics on the portal to know what people are interested in, and check out the trending topics that are in the news and try and respond to these with blog posts as well. So we have over 100 published blogs on a wide variety of topics, and we add 2 to 3 that we publish each month. Another function that we have is something we call the web resource rating. So have you ever seen anything interesting online or in the news and you wonder if it's good or bad advice, if it's something that you should follow? Or do you want to find out how trustworthy your own favorite go-to sources of health information really are? As you might suspect, many websites and information that gets out there are actually sponsored by companies or celebrities who are trying to sell you something, or focused on anecdotal evidence, or celebrity endorsements of health practices and products, and it's hard to know which ones you can trust. So we have developed a rating tool and published these ratings of other resources available elsewhere online to help you filter out the low-quality resources so you can find trustworthy health information that you can be confident is based on scientific evidence. So here's an example of resources here in a list. It's any consumer-friendly information that we find within these sites. So it might be a blog, it might be a fact sheet or a video, and the portal staff rate these using our quality assessment tool that has been created by the portal team. So the highest rated web resources use research evidence. They have a rigorous development process. They're easy to use and understand. And we also summarize the key messages for our readers to skim if you're interested in just getting the gist, or you can click on the links to go to those websites if you want to read more. We have published over 1,100 web resource links, and last year, about this time of year, we started to focus on just publishing high-quality ones when we realized that the majority of the ones we were finding and rating were perhaps no big surprise, not very high quality. So that's the direction that we're going now, so that when our readers come to the portal, they can find other high quality sources that they can use for their information. So here's a little example of what a resource rating looks like. You can see there's print functions and opportunities to share something that you find, as well as a star rating out of 5. A summary message and a way that you can click and link to the article, as well as find other similar content on the portal. So you saw there was star ratings. Most content on the portal does include this easy to identify 5-star rating system. And we've created this weighted to favor content that shares its development process and shares where it got the information. So a 1-star resource would be not recommended, that either the information is not based on evidence or it doesn't tell us where it got its information, and we don't necessarily recommend following this advice. At a 3-star level, we recommend doing more research. It might be based on scientific findings, but maybe only a study or 2, so we recommend reading more about that topic. And 5 stars, we can be pretty confident that this information is based on a summary of many high-quality research studies, and we recommend discussing these ideas with your healthcare professional. And just to point out, a 0-star rating doesn't necessarily mean that the information isn't accurate. It's just that it hasn't given us as much information as we need to know where the recommendations came from. So even a well-researched fact sheet based on a systematic review, it might get the same rating as a celebrity blog post if there's no references provided or no date provided to support its claims, just because then we don't have the information we need to know where those recommendations came from. So that's the point of the star ratings. Another portal solution to the media overload on aging recommendations is our Hitting the Headlines Twitter feed. So every day we receive a feed of all the aging topics that have been covered across the country, and our staff search each of our 3 databases to find evidence on these topics. So here's an example from the Canadian News focusing on the need to improve care for elderly patients. So policymakers might want to know where should we invest our time and resources, and Barbara and Janine might want to know what's best for my patients or my loved ones. So the tweet here shows that geriatric units and geriatric care teams can help to improve outcomes for patients after discharge from hospital. And the link here goes to the articles or the evidence summaries that provides more information on the topic. Our Twitter feed also provides links to upcoming aging talks and events, and we highlight the latest blog posts as they're published as well. So it's a good place to look for what's coming from the portal. So what does this mean for you as professionals working in public health? Well, first of all, it gives you one place to access and share high-quality information. So it's like a one-stop shop. That's how it's been designed. One place where people can go to find the most credible resources on a variety of topics. So you don't just start with a Google search and hope for the best from the millions of results that you might pull up from there. So you can use the portal to search for answers on your patient's health questions or for teaching best practices to nursing students. We also recognize that it's challenging for many nursing guidelines to keep pace with the rate of new research. So what is the latest evidence on the benefits and harms of different types of screening? Or what antidepressants are proven to work best? Or are there alternatives that actually benefit people to use antipsychotics for people with dementia? What really works? So searching the website and subscribing to our email alerts help you keep up on the latest published research. And secondly, the portal then gives you the opportunity to critically appraise and perhaps design your own resources. So using our web resource rating tool as a guide and keeping in mind the importance of good science to inform any claims and recommendations that you might want to share, and using the tool as a checklist to ensure that your content is based on the most trustworthy sources of information as you create it. And then keeping in mind, as I mentioned in the star rating, when I'm talking about the star ratings, providing proof of the process. So the background and the assurance for readers that the resources are based on high-quality research studies. And then thirdly, it gives you an opportunity to teach others the importance of good science in making healthcare decisions and how to critically appraise online health resources. So that using the portal, it can encourage your students and patients to, sure, be skeptical of new findings that are hyped in the news, and also be confident in their own ability to discern which are credible stories. And directing them to blogs and evidence summaries available on the portal helps to do that. The portal team is actually also creating a little mini curriculum, mini modules they call them, that can be incorporated into the 4 years of our Bachelor of Health Science program at McMaster. So this is in the pilot stage currently, helping students learn how to critically appraise what they read online and also through accessing published research, how to write evidence summaries, how to take something from a full text systematic review or published literature and write it in easy-to-understand language. It's great for public health communication. And also how to use the web resource rating tool, as I just described, to be able to critically view some of the information that you have access to. So this is a pilot curriculum project with the potential to roll out to other institutions in the future. So if you're interested in getting more information, if you work in health education or nursing education or otherwise, please do contact us. Each semester, we also train and involve fourth-year nursing students in our web resource rating process, and consistently they tell us that this training does help them view online health information more critically and provide sources that they can use in their own work and recommend to patients, the ones that they know that are trustworthy places to go. So a little bit about our community engagement approach. As I mentioned, we do have 2 advisory councils. Our expert advisory council consists of 15 clinicians, researchers, practitioners, and educators that work in the field of aging from across Canada. A list of their names and affiliations is available on the portal website. We also have a citizens advisory council of older adults and caregivers who provide us feedback as well. These are all currently, our members are all living in Ontario, and we are looking to recruit new members from outside Ontario just to broaden our group a little bit. So if you have any recommendations about groups to connect with, or if you yourself work with a group of older adults or caregivers that we could connect with, please let us know. So these two advisory councils provide us with feedback on portal content and its functionality, as well as opportunities for promotion. And they've been involved in contributing to presentations and blog posts and creating partnerships with other organizations, as well as promoting the portal at public and outreach events like this one. So today we have invited actually a member of our Citizens Advisory Council to contribute to this webinar and give her viewpoint and provide her perspective from a citizen's point of view as a member of the public. So that although the portal does have great value for professionals, a key target group of ours is members of the public. So we want to make sure that what we provide on the portal and the way that we provide it works for older adults and their caregivers. As we know, there's few sources of evidence-based information that they can use to make health decisions. So we welcome Stephanie today and really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Stephanie. So first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 62 years old. I'm retired. I worked for the federal government for roughly 24 years, and I retired. I have 2 fully grown children, 8 grandchildren, 1 great-grandson, and a great-granddaughter due in November.
Congratulations.
I'm a cancer survivor, and I have kidney disease.
Okay.
So that was my main focus on getting information from the portal.
Right. Well, we appreciate you sharing with us today. So how did you first hear about the portal?
Seniors information fair in the community.
And what made you interested in learning more?
Because it was going to give me the basic medical information that I needed to ask informed questions of my doctors. I'm not going to waste my time asking questions that are common sense, and I'm not going to waste my doctor's time expecting them to give me an answer. So if I have the common sense knowledge already, I can then ask more in-depth questions about what's going on.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about how the portal has been useful for you.
It's given me ideas and ways on how to communicate with my children about dignity of life, the right to end life. It's given me information about my battle with cancer, what to expect, what not to expect, and how to inform people that I care about and care about me that I have it. Mm-hmm. And it answered general questions about just, you know, like, are carrots really good for your eyes? Does it help your eyes? Or, you know, if I want to lose weight, should I just go on cabbage soup diet, or should I try something else?
Right.
Type of thing. And the answers there, they're more real than some of the fly-by-night.
What do you mean by real?
It's been researched. It's like, and if it doesn't have the answer that you're looking for, there is a link that you can go to. So if you're, like, I'm not very computer literate. I'm learning, but I can just click my mouse and go somewhere instead of having to punch in a HTTP 2 dots, 2 dashes thing,
right,
you know, to get there. And it will take me right to the area that I want. So to me, that's a big selling feature.
So the easy navigation.
Yeah, it's easy to navigate through it and get around it, and you know, and if I can't find what I want, then I just write it on a piece of paper, and when I go see my doctor, I ask them.
Right, okay.
So,
well, that's good to hear. Overall, did you feel like you have learned anything new by using the portal?
yes, I learned that, to start with, that getting diagnosed with cancer is not a death sentence, that there's treatment. You just don't go for radiation and chemo and surgery. It's a lifestyle change, and you have to adapt your life to it. You know, like you can't say, well, I'm going to go do this, but I'm still going to die anyhow. You have to, and it gives you ideas of how to deal with the depression that you're going to go through, on how to deal with it so that you have a positive outlook. So you have the ability to prepare yourself mentally for the fight you're going to have.
Even before you
start it, yeah.
Okay, great. And can you give a specific example of something that you learned from reading portal information that interested you or surprised you? Is there something that comes to mind?
All of it has given me a lot of information, but I can't really say surprised me. You know, like some of it maybe isn't the way I would think about something, but, you know, it makes sense. So.
It's interesting you're talking about the information on the medical side of things, but also the social.
Yeah, there's a lot of social support. Like, it teaches you, I was abused as a child, and although the portal doesn't deal with child abuse because it's for older people, there is sections on abuse, and some of the things in there you can put to your own self. Like, you realize that abuse is, you know, you're not always black and blue from abuse. There's all kinds of different abuses, and you can learn to recognize why you act a certain way based on something that happened before, or you get to recognize if, you know, one of your children is ignoring you and they only contact you when they want something, and then even then when you say, well, you know, you haven't talked to me for 6 months, so why do I have to do this? And they start using emotional abuse on you and bribery and things. It teaches you how to recognize that that's what's going on and still stand your ground and say, no, you know, and this is why. You know, like, instead of being intimidated because, you know, they are adults and they have strings to hold over you, like, you know, your grandchildren and whatever, you know, whatever else. Like,
so tools and information for
on how to deal with different things.
Right.
Like abuses in the past and how to realize you're not a victim anymore, I guess.
Okay.
Like of anything.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. So have you used the research evidence that you have read on the portal in your day-to-day life?
Yes, I have. I've used the abuse stuff, and the dignity to life. I've discussed it with 2 of my friends because they are both my executors. They both know my wishes. I've discussed it with my children, and even though my children don't agree with it, it gave me enough information and enough mental tools to be able to explain my position to them so that they don't have to like the decision, but they have to learn to be comfortable with my right to make my decision.
And this you mean about end-of-life decisions or medical decisions?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so the tools and the conversations.
Yeah. It tells you how to approach the conversation, especially with the end-of-life one, because that's like kind of relatively new. Before, the doctor could be charged, or you had to stock up your medication and, you know, do it yourself. But now that's coming out in the open. That you know this, and it gives you the tools to initiate the conversation with your family.
Right.
Like, okay, you know what, I still have my faculties about me, so this is why I want to have this conversation now. I don't want to wait till, you know, I really can't remember why I went in the next room instead of just, you know, not remembering why I went in the next room type of thing, you know, so that type of thing.
That's great. for the tools and the information for all of those conversations, and with your doctor, as you mentioned too, with a health diagnosis.
And my family doctor, I'll go in with, like I have my knee's been acting up, so I'll go in and instead of just saying, well, my knee's sore, what's wrong with it, fix it, I'll go in and say, well, you know, it could be this or it could be that, and it could be this, and, you know, this is the symptoms that I'm having, and she'll say, okay, well, you know, it could, like, and then I'll go for x-rays and ultrasounds, and she'll come back and she'll say, okay, it's this, and I don't have to say, okay, now what is that, because I already know what it is. So now it's like, okay, now there's this treatment, that treatment, and she'll say to me, where did you learn all this stuff? So I shorten the name of the portal because I can't remember it all because of my age. So I just say, oh, I got it off a map. And she'll say, what? And I'll say, yeah, the McMaster Aging Portal. Map. And it's like, okay. And she'll say, oh, okay, so you should know about it. You're a doctor.
So that's a lead into my next question. So most of the participants attending today are public health professionals, for example, nurses and others working with perhaps patients or students as well. Do you have any advice about how they could use the portal to support their work with patients and clients like yourself?
I think, like, reading it and informing their patients. If they tell their patients about it and encourage their patients to use it, then it opens more dialogue between them and their patients. Like what I notice with seniors like myself is sometimes you're scared to go and say, like, you know, every time I walk into the kitchen, I forget what I went in there for. So I have to walk back out and walk back in like 10 times without, you know, before I really remember what I went in there for. And in the portal, it will tell you why you do things like that. So you don't feel that you're going to be misdiagnosed, and you're not going to take up your doctor's time, like, you know, your nurse's time or your therapist's time or anything else, because they're going to know that you have done some research on your own. So, and then they can talk about it. Or you, like, I've even gone in, because now my doctor does look at this portal, and if I've read something that's of interest, I'll say, well, did you read this? You know, what's your take on it? You know, this is what I got out of it. Like, you know, like after the reason why I'm there has been solved, you know, and there's still a couple of minutes, and we will talk about things that are on the portal, different things that are on the portal. But I find it amazing that a lot of doctors and nurses don't use it and don't know about it.
So a lot of what we have found in translating some of this research evidence into blogs and trying to make them catchy is that unlike a lot of what else is available online, there isn't usually a cut and dried 100%, this is the way to go. This is our recommendation. This works all the time.
Like some of the blogs and some of the information things you have options. Like, it's like, okay, we found out this, but there's also this too. Like, so you
or risks and benefits with each choice as well.
And you have an option of what you want to do and how you want to go about doing it. And that's why it's good for seniors. A lot of seniors are scared to go to their doctors and say, well, you know, I really have all these problems. You know, like I have a friend, and he just started using the portal, and he said to me one day, well, my knee bothers me, and he falls, and he says, but I go to the doctors, and there's nothing wrong. So he just tells me it's all in my head. I said, but it's not in your head. And tell him this part, you know, that you haven't told him. Well, no, because then he'll really think I'm crazy. No, like, and that gives you enough ammo to go to your doctor and say, look at this, I have this symptom, this symptom, this symptom, and this symptom. And so, you know, I'm not crazy, there's something wrong with me, and you need to help me solve it. But if you're just going and saying, my knee hurts and I fall, you know.
So there's some options available, I guess, in the information on the portal to provide, to sort of feed that conversation with the professional, so you're aware of what some options are and maybe the risks and benefits of different options. That's there for the professional.
Like it's not to self-diagnose, but it's to give you enough. Like when I found out I had cancer, I had a small problem at the beginning, and I went to the doctor and I said, well, is this normal for my age? And her first response was, I don't know. So I said, well, okay. So then I came home and I went on the portal, and she was setting up tests for me, obviously. And I went on the portal, and then I called back and I said to her, well, I just went on this portal, and they said that the symptom that I have could be related to this. So then she said, okay. So then, she said, well, we'll still go for the test. And it turned out that the portal was right, that it was a direct link to the type of cancer I had. But because it didn't show up on one test, and I had found this link for her, she sent me for another test, which meant that my cancer was so small by the time the normal standard test would have found it, it would have been too late. So it was found that much earlier, so that's.
All right. Well, maybe we'll review some of the points that you've mentioned here. So access to the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal helps you answer general questions that you might have or keep up to date on some issues that arise. Like you mentioned, is the cabbage diet really going to work or not? As well as research any health diagnoses. So in your experience, there's been a few times in which you were diagnosed with a knee issue or a more serious diagnosis of cancer, to get some information before your doctor's appointments to understand what that means for you, and then information to ask your doctor those more in-depth questions about treatment options and risks and benefits. Also, you mentioned some coping skills, so being able to cope with past trauma and abuse, or some ideas for handling depression. Also some tools for informing your discussion with family and friends around, in your case, end-of-life decisions, as well as a bit with your cancer diagnosis. I remember us discussing that as well. So thank you so much for sharing, Stephanie. And if anybody has any questions as well for Stephanie or related to some of the things that Stephanie mentioned, please feel free to share those with us as well to discuss in the Q&A. So before we conclude, just a bit of information about the research and evaluation that we're also doing through the portal. So we have conducted a usability assessment as well, so to gather the experience and feedback from members of our target audience while they're engaging with the portal. So this was actually observational as well. So watching people use the portal, much of this happened before it was launched, to then use those findings to guide the design and the content for our launch in 2014, and has also guided some enhancements since in 2015 and 16, as well as some subsequent user testing has helped with that as well. We've also conducted a reliability assessment of the web resource rating tool. So this is the one that measures the quality of messages that are found on other aging-related websites. So we had 2 raters from a pool of raters that rated each resource independently, and we found that the tool has very high reliability. So there was quite excellent agreement between the responses of the 2 raters would independently assess of the same resource. So because of this, we now move to a 1-rater system for our trained raters, and still use a 2-rater system for new trainees and students, so we can give them some feedback on how to use the rating tool. This has been really helpful for us as well. The high reliability allows us to recommend this tool as a reliable instrument for anyone else to assess online health information. It doesn't need to be aging related. The tool is adaptable to other topics and other populations. We've also done a content validity assessment. So in this, we were looking at whether claims and recommendations that are found on other websites that we found through our web resource rating function are actually supported by the latest high-quality research that we house in the portal. So this was an interesting study. So this is a work in progress, so stay tuned on to find out how this study went, and we'll be presenting on that in the future. We've also looked, the priority moving forward is that impacts on readers. So knowing whether we're meeting our goal of reaching people. So we constantly are measuring analytics, which actually isn't included on this slide, but it is given daily, and with monthly updates, we are measuring the usage information, site visits, the popular topics, any spikes related to news and events, always trying to understand more about how people use the website, and the information that they access and what they click on and how they navigate, and whether they read or they skim, how long they're spending on the site. So we're constantly monitoring that. But what we don't know from that information is, does this information actually change what people know and what they do to stay healthy as they age? So we're hearing a bit from Stephanie today, and having a Citizens Advisory Council is very helpful for this, and some of the user testing that we've done to get some of these personal stories about how people put portal information into practice. So we're very aware of the long distance between a click on a website and actually a change in health outcomes. So we recognize that there's many decisions that go into whether people actually are able to change their behavior and why they may or may not. But we hope that the portal has some role within this, and to find out a little bit more about what our role is as our priority in the coming year. So if you have any recommendations for partnerships to collaborate on measuring impacts on readers, this is something that we are prioritizing now moving forward. So we heard that some of you had heard of the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal. For others of you, it was new information. Regardless of that, I hope that you have found out more about the portal today and find it useful. And what can you do now? So now that you know about the portal, we have a checklist here, and I think this might also be available through NCCMT or related to the webinar today. What can you do now that you've heard about the portal? And there's a bit of a checklist here. Of course, please do visit the website. Check it out if you haven't already to see what's on there and what might be useful to your own work or your own life. You can register to receive email alerts. I didn't go over this in detail, but we do actually have email alerts that we send out weekly that highlight our latest published blogs, evidence summaries, and web resource ratings, as well as professional alerts that send you actually those published research abstracts. So the ones that we haven't translated, this is directly from the publishers coming through the various databases to your inbox. So if you sign up for public health email alerts, these are the latest updated abstracts coming from health evidence. So if you're interested, please do sign up for those as well. You can follow us on Twitter and get those updates on the latest aging news, as well as the headlines, to keep up on what's new in aging and the evidence around it. Please tell your colleagues who are not listening today about the portal. That is a trustworthy source for evidence-based information about healthy aging that might be useful for them to use. And encourage your patients or clients to also go onto the website or share some of the blog posts with them. We have a user-friendly printing function there as well if you want to print up information that relates specifically to an issue that one of your patients or clients might be having. You can contact us to get promotional flyers or cards to share with at your local public health unit or clinic or whatever workplace you do work in, and distribute through any events that you might be attending. Please contact us to let us know about that, and we'd be happy to share some resources with you. You can also add a link to the portal from your own organization, and if you're interested, there is our contact information at the bottom of this page. And live stream, we also offer public talks on optimal aging topics, which you can find online through McMaster, and attend live if you like online as well. So there are a whole list of options there that you can put into practice now that you've learned about the portal. So thank you again for attending, and this is my contact information, or info@mcmasteroptimalaging.org will also get you to the portal staff to answer any questions or for any promotional material that might be useful for you.
So thank you very much to Susanna and Stephanie today for that great presentation and a great overview of what the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal has to offer, and an example of a great user story of how the Optimal Aging Portal can work in action for citizens. So now we've reached the point in our presentation where we will open it up for Q&A. So please post any questions or comments that you might have that you either have for Susanna or Stephanie to hear kind of both sides of the story. So we had one question, perhaps for Susanna. Genevieve is asking, in regards to the training sessions, are these available in English only, or are they also in French?
Which training sessions are we specifically talking about?
Okay, so
maybe I can review quickly as you answer that question. We currently are working on getting the portal available in French, so as a website that the blog posts and the evidence summaries and web resource rating links will be available in French. So this is a big job that we've been working on it all year with the hopes of launching the portal in French, hopefully 2017. We also have, through our various databases, links to all the research abstracts. The titles are available and translated into French as well. So there is portal material available in French, and to be launched very soon, all of the portal available in French. The training, I don't know if you got any more information about the training.
Yeah, so Genevieve was actually asking, going back to the mini modules for students.
Oh, thank you, Genevieve, for clarifying. Right. So that curriculum I don't believe is available in French at the moment, although we do work with a translation team. So please contact us if you are interested in those mini modules, and when the portal is launched in French, I could see these being very useful to adapt to an institution that with French students as well, since then our content will be fully available in French. So stay tuned on that one. Should be 2017 for the launch of the French portal.
That's great, thank you. So we have another comment and question from Kate, who's thanking you for hearing about this tool, and she's looking forward to checking it out. And she's just wondering, in regards to the tool, what you define as aging in terms of how you filter relevant abstracts. So, for example, do you only include research involving participants who are 55 plus, 60 plus, 65 plus, or do you use a life course approach?
That's a great question. The three different databases have different inclusion criteria for this. So for health evidence, Olivia would have a bit more information than me. I know that our inclusion is 60 plus. However, it just needs to be a proportion of the population that has been included. And this is the same for McMaster Plus as well. Health systems evidence is a bit more broad in that they are looking at any topics that also might be relevant to older adults. So this certainly does encompass a life course approach, and the philosophy behind the scenes is a life course approach. And we recognize that many of our users are in that middle age bracket, so many are 30 to 45, although currently I would say about, I don't have the numbers, oh, I do have the numbers in front of me. I think about a third are age 65 plus. But we certainly have quite a large proportion that are younger, and we recognize that aging well starts at a younger age. So as we write our content, particularly the blog posts, we're keeping those issues to the forefront that we would choose to write for a lay audience, for the members of the public, we choose topics that we hope are applicable throughout most of life.
That's great. Thanks, Susanna. So we have another question from Sally, who's asking, with regards to the fact that this is an aging portal, besides an aging portal, do you have a portal in any other topics?
Not currently. We did have, at one point, there was interest in adapting this model to other topics and aging areas, and one was pediatrics. So because we have created this, over 3 years it took the development of this portal model to come into being. Now that it has been done, there is great potential to harness these databases or to do something similar around another topic or population. So that is certainly a potential, and if you have some ideas, again, feel free to contact us. But it has been a great learning process and a model to be able to create a repository like this and translate that into a consumer-friendly website resource. Just to update that question on our related to the aging brackets of our users, it's actually now, in July, I can see that over 45% of our users were 65 plus. But the remainder are in lower age brackets as well, and we recognize that often caregivers are also looking for information on behalf of older adults. So there's quite a wide range of age users, and we are pleased ourselves to see that many older adults 65 plus are using the portal. That also addresses, I'm going a little bit off here, but it addresses one of the questions that we used to hear when the portal was being developed and soon after launch, which was a website for older adults. Who's going to use that? You can't expect seniors to use websites, and that has just been proven to be quite erroneous in that a very high proportion of people over the age of even 75 are comfortable using the internet and do so frequently, as well as social media sites. And as the proportion ages and the baby boomer generation gets older, this is only going to increase. So we see that in our demographics of people using the portal as well.
That's great, thank you. So we have another question from Vivanna, who's asking, do you deliver any type of workshops in the organizations working for seniors?
Not currently. We do have 2 webinars available online that you can download if you'd like to run through a webinar like that and use it as the basis for a workshop. One is on the portal itself, similar to what I've presented today, and another one is on the web resource rating function as well. So these are available through the McMaster Optimal Aging Portal. And we have done then some conference presentations as well as some presentations to smaller organizations working with seniors. We don't have a lot of resources at the moment to do individual workshops, but perhaps something available through the portal is a good idea, and thank you for the suggestion. Beyond the webinars, maybe a user-friendly video of how to use. I know this is something that had been requested before.
That's great. And some more questions here. Thank you, everyone, for the questions that you're posting. It makes for a very great discussion. So we have a comment here and question from Carol, who's wondering if you can show the best way to maybe word or form a search question for optimal results. So if you have some sample searches, she said she's tried to look and is maybe getting some mixed results. So she's wondering if you can help her on the best way to form her research question or search.
Sure, yeah. I'm not working directly on this myself, so I can't give you all the technical advice, but I know that the search is drawn by an and, is it Boolean sort of method? So if you put something that you're interested in, let's say dementia, and the word and then something else that you'd like to find out about, say exercise, rather than typing in a whole question in the same way that you might in a Google search engine. So rather than putting, what can I do to help avoid dementia as I age, if you put in, dementia and exercise, dementia and diet. This might bring up some of the results that you are interested in as well. Our advice is to use our browse function. Actually, our search function is very helpful when you already have an idea of what you would like to know. If your question is more open, like the example I just gave, what can I do to help prevent dementia, you might want to go to our browse section where one of our tabs is, our topic selections is Alzheimer's and dementia, and see what comes up in the results. And you might be surprised. There might be something that you wouldn't have thought of, or a specific type of exercise that you can then adapt to your own lifestyle. So using the browse is also a strategy there, or using quotes if there's more than one word that you're looking for. Our search engine will search for each word individually and then tie them together. So if there's a couple of words that are in a phrase, then put quotes around them, and that will help your search results, I hope.
That's great. Thanks, Susanna. And I'll just offer an extra point here as well with our links to health evidence here. Maybe we can get a link in the chat section, which will also direct you to health evidence. Has a variety of practice tools that will help you to form your research question and even help you with your searches as well. So that might help with putting in your Boolean terms together and finding the exact search term that will reflect your research question to give you the best results. So we'll see if we can get that posted in the chat section, because that might also be of interest to you, Carol. So we have another question here relating to the Citizen Advisory Council. So Susanna, you indicated that you are looking for people outside of Ontario to participate on the Citizens Advisory Council. What is the profile of the potential member you may be recruiting, and who should one contact if interested in participating on the council?
Great question. Thank you. It sounds like perhaps there's a lead there, so that's great. We're looking for any older adult or caregiver. I believe our only exclusion criteria at the moment is if you are currently a health professional. So because we also have the Expert Advisory Council, for the citizens, we're looking for those who are going to give us feedback from their own personal experience rather than their professional perspective. And it's something that we've sort of weighed back and forth about the benefits of, and we do have a retired physician on our Citizens Advisory Council as well, who said she would like to be there as a caregiver herself for her aging family members. So we're fairly flexible, and we're open to anybody contacting us who is an older adult or a caregiver. And we do have an inclusion survey just to get a bit more information about people to filter the group there to make sure we have a representative group. If you are interested, please contact me with the contact information that's on the last slide there of my presentation, or at info@McMasterOptimalAging.org.
Great, thanks for those links. We'll also make sure that we follow up with those with your contact information in the chat section as well. So we have another question from Carol, who's wondering, and I think because of just limited time today, we wish we had more time to review everything in our webinar. We didn't get a chance to show how to really use the portal, or as well how to set up your preferences in the profile. So maybe, Susanna, you can just go over how to set up that information in the Optimal Aging Portal.
You no longer actually need to register to access the portal's translated content, translated meaning from the professional abstract. So you don't need to log in to read the blogs or the evidence summaries or access the web resource ratings. You can also sign up for quick, forget what they call it, quick access to signing up for email alerts, so you don't have to give all your information or register for the portal for that. So if you'd like to sign up for email alerts, it's essentially now, I believe, just your email address and a bit of information about which alerts you'd like. If you register, that gives you access to the professionals database. So yes, for you attending today, this might be something that would be useful for you. And I believe you can choose you don't have to, I guess fill out all of the sections in that area. And I didn't include the registration page in this presentation because of the fact that you no longer need to register to access the content, which is how we launched it. We've since taken away that step. So if you have specific questions about the registration step, please do contact me or info@optimalaging.org if you would like more information or have questions about how to go through that. But just to let you know, you no longer need to do that even to access, to sign up for email alerts.
That's great, Suzanne. It definitely makes it easy for people to receive information one less hurdle in the way. So we have another question from Sandy, who's asking, when developing the portal, did you access information related to health literacy?
For sure, yes, absolutely. So that was a big basis of the reason behind the portal is to try and translate sometimes complicated clinical language into something that people can use and understand. So that has certainly been very much a part of the development. I personally was not involved in the development stage. I was hired the week of the launch, actually, to then take over the project coordination. But certainly if you have specific questions about health literacy and how that fed into the development, please do, again, contact us. I know that we have also worked really hard to try and keep the language level of the content that we produce ourselves at an accessible level. The web resource rating summaries we try and keep to a grade 8 level of language, and we measure this through a tool that we have for our raters. And the blog posts as well, we write at sort of the level that you might find in a magazine or a news article on a similar topic. And the evidence summaries can tend, by nature of what we try and include and also the nature of the research abstracts that we're pulling from, they might be a little bit of a higher language level there, although we always try and make them as accessible as possible. So that is something that we're always considering in the work that we produce, and to find that balance between giving enough information that is not sort of dumbing down the findings, while still making it understandable for our target audience. So that's something we always keep in mind.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful information. So I'm not seeing too many more questions being posted right now. So continue, please, to post your questions in the Q&A or chat function. And just as we move ahead, we'll just move the slides along, and again, continue to ask your questions, and we'll relay those to the presenters. So we'll continue on with our last few polling questions here. Thank you to those who are still tuned in. So if you could let us know, could this method or tool be useful in practice? So please use the poll question is now open. You can respond, and just remember to hit submit at the bottom. It's very helpful if you have any other feedback as well. So thank you to those who are responding to that poll question. We're glad to see that some of this information could be useful to you. And again, today we remind you that your feedback is very important to us, and we've posted a link in our chat section. So please take a few moments to complete this survey and provide any feedback that you may have with regards to this and our whole Spotlight webinar series. We welcome any feedback, and we really use this information to help inform the webinar series itself and select methods and tools from the registry for future sessions. So any information that you can provide is greatly appreciated. And again, so that short survey will be posted in the chat section. And we just have one last polling question here. And this one's a little different in where you can actually select all that apply, and then hit submit. So we're just wondering what your next steps might be. So if you intend to access the method or tool, so the Optimal Aging Portal that was referenced today, if you plan on reading the NCCMT summary about this tool, if you consider using the method or tool in practice, or if you think you could consider telling a colleague about this method or tool. So thank you again for all of the responses. That's very helpful to us. And we're happy to see that quite a few of you are interested in actually accessing the Optimal Aging Portal, or actually know someone who they could share this with. So perhaps it might be that maybe it's not of interest to you, but you could share it with a colleague, or even share it with your clients or patients that you encountered. We've seen from Stephanie's experience today that this is very helpful for citizens as well. So we'll just check here to see if there's any further questions or comments. We're happy to relay any of that information to our presenters. Again, we still have Stephanie and Susanna here to answer any questions that you might have. Or if you happen to have any questions after we close up the presentation today, please note that Susanna's email address and the general info at McMasterOptimalAging.org email has been posted in the chat section. Okay, so we're not seeing too many more questions coming in right now, so we'll just move along with our presentation. Just a reminder, if you're interested, if you were interested in the webinar today, the NCC Spotlight on Methods and Tools series will run monthly, going all year long. So next month, on Tuesday, October 18th, at the same time, we'll have our next Spotlight webinar series, and we'll be featuring the Quality Assessment Tool for Quantitative Studies. So if you're interested in critical appraisal or a new tool to assess quantitative studies, we invite you to join this session. If you're interested in registering, you can use the link that will be posted in the chat section. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today for this excellent presentation. We're happy to hear that a few of you who may have been unfamiliar with the tool now have a bit more insight on this tool and how it can not only help you, but again, the citizen community as well. So I will pass it along to see if Susanna or Stephanie have any final comments today to offer to our audience, and then we'll wrap up. So Susanna, if you have any comments you want to...
I just want to thank everyone for attending, and it was a good amount of participants today, so we appreciate the interest in the portal and your attention, and hope that you do find it a useful tool in your own life or in your practice.
Thank you very much. We're happy to hear that. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today. We greatly appreciate all the questions that you've posted, and it's made for a really great discussion for us. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you next month on October 18th. Have a great afternoon, everyone.